Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to Assembly. We're back again in my kitchen, and I've got a whole heap of things from my kitchen that I want to share with you today and talk with you about a little bit more. It's a very special time in the year right now because it is coming up for harvest time. When you've been out and about in the car with your mum and your dad or your family, you may have noticed that there's quite a lot of farm traffic on the road at the moment. There's a lot of tractors, there's combine harvesters that are out cutting the wheat in the field. I've noticed it because I have to drive in from Arbroath every day, and sometimes I've been getting held up because I've been stuck behind the tractors because they go quite slow on the road. But I really don't mind about that at all because the farmers are doing such an important job. They're going into the field and they're using their combine harvesters to cut up the wheat. Now the wheat is used to make flour, and I've got some flour here. You see that? So the wheat that you see grown in the field is ground down and is used to make flour. Now in this country, we use a lot of flour, and that is because it's the main ingredient in an item that I'm sure most of you will have every single day. Flour is used to make bread. Flour is the main ingredient in bread, but it's also the main ingredients in other types of bread products like wraps, like rolls, and it's also the main ingredient in cakes and Yorkshire pudding and pancakes and crumpets and all of these really delicious things. We wouldn't have any of them if it wasn't for the hard-working farmers going out, cutting in the wheat, and it being used to make flour.
In late summer, fields begin to change colour as green turns to gold. While we enjoy holidays in the last of the warm sunshine, down on the farm, it's harvest time. Combine harvesters are used to gather the crops of wheat, barley and oats. Farmers hurry to harvest their crops in the good weather before the rains come, often working late into the night. In their hedges, plants like blackberry and elderberry have used the last of the summer sun to produce eye-catching fruits. These attract birds keen to fatten up for winter. The birds will later spread seeds from inside the fruit far and wide, helping new plants to grow next year. As the days start to grow cooler, orchards are filled with the sounds of the last harvest of the summer, delicious apples and pears. And when the swallows fly south in search of warmer lands, we know that summer is over. Autumn, with its rich colours, is just around the corner.
Every year at Laurencekirk School, we have a special collection for harvest time. We ask all of the boys and girls in school to bring in an item of food that we can share out in our community. It's a lovely time to show that we care about the people who live in Laurencekirk. Now last year, some of you will remember that we had a collection for the Street Friends in Aberdeen. The Street Friends in Aberdeen are an organisation that help homeless people, and what they do is they collect in food and they take it out to the people on the streets who don't have a home and don't have some place to cook their food. And last year we collected, it must have been hundreds of items that we took to the Street Friends in Aberdeen, and it made such a difference to those people's lives, and it was a really wonderful thing for everyone to do. I was incredibly proud of our school. We are such a kind and caring school, and harvest is a time where we can really show that. This year we have a slightly different idea. And we are going to be supporting the Laurencekirk Larder, who have got a really good idea for helping people that involves these little paper bags. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to be creating bags that have all the ingredients inside them to make a recipe. So an example would be here's Mrs. Smith's lentil soup recipe. This is a really, really easy lentil soup recipe. It's the one that I've used since I was a student at university. Really cheap to make and really, really easy to do. And it tells you on here all the ingredients, and it tells you exactly here what it is that you need to do to make a nice pan of lentil soup. Well, we have the idea that we're going to make up these bags and we're going to take them out to people and they can make them for themselves. So it's really good because the people get the nice food to eat, but it also teaches them how to make something new. So in this bag, there would be 1 onion, there would be 2 carrots, okay, in this bag. There would be 2 stock cubes, vegetables, maybe they're vegetarian, and there would be some lentils, and they would go in there too. Now, the other thing that you need, of course, to make soup is water. I'm not going to put water in there because obviously the people will have water in their tap they can use. And then inside the bag there will be a recipe. And instead of just delivering individual tins to people, we can deliver a recipe and a bag for people to make for themselves. Isn't that a great idea? I think it's a super idea and I'm really, really excited to be doing it. I think we could make a really good job of this, boys and girls, if we all pull together. So myself and Mrs. Anderson and Mrs. Grant have been working together on different recipes that we could have in the bag. And we've come up with a list of items of things that we need and we would like you to bring in. And I'm going to put that up on the screen to remind you all of what it is. But the letter's gone home and it's gone onto Facebook too, so it can remind people at home. Some of the things that are on it though, I've just had a rummage around and I found in my cupboard. So tins of tuna for one of the recipes that we're going to make. Tins of corned beef for one of the recipes. I think that's for Stovies. Stovies is on there. And there's a tuna pasta bake recipe as well. Pasta is for pasta bake dish that's on there. Flour, and that's because one of the recipes we want to do is a sweet dish and it's making fairy cakes, I think. Vegetable stock cubes and beef stock cubes are needed for the recipes. Tins of sweet corn, and there's other things on there as well, and it's up to you, but if you could bring in even just one of these items, that would really help us make lots of these bags that we can hand out to people. Now, there's 330 of us in the school. If everybody brings in just one item from the list, imagine how many of these special bags we could make. Imagine the difference that we could make. Wouldn't that be wonderful? At the front door, beside Mrs. Clark's office, there's a table and it's looking really nice because Mrs. Anderson has put a tartan tablecloth on it. And that is where you can pop your donations for our bags in the morning when you bring them in. Okay? Now, the last day for the donations is next week on Thursday. Okay? So a week tomorrow. So you've got 8 days to bring in your donations. And we're going to take them down to the larder and we're going to make these really special bags up. I've got a series of ingredients here in front of me.
Hi, do you miss me? Joking.
Okay. Away you go. Right.
Obviously don't miss me.
Oh, okay. Right, boys and girls, that was Jackson. Sorry about that interruption there. But I've got a series of ingredients here in front of me and I wonder if you have any idea what I might be possibly using them to make. So I've got some water, it's quite warm. I've got a lot of flour here, there's sugar, there's yeast, there's oil, and there's salt. So I wonder if you know what all of these ingredients combine to make. Well, we'll find out, won't we? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pour 225 mils of water into here. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put 400 grams of flour. I'm going to try and do it without spilling it, which is not easy, boys and girls. 400 grams of flour inside here as well, so that's gone in. The next thing I've got here is 2 tablespoons of sugar, so I'm going to sprinkle that in. The next thing I have here is 1 teaspoon of yeast. I don't know if you know what yeast is. Maybe some of you do. What the job of yeast is. Trying to get it all out because it's a very important ingredient. All the ingredients are important, but that one is super important. And I've got 4 tablespoons of oil. It's to go in here as well. And finally, I've got 1 teaspoon of salt, and they all go in together. Okay, take a look at that, boys and girls. We've got the salt, we've got the water, the oil, the sugar, we've got the yeast in there as well. And I'm going to go and put it in my special bread maker. So if you come over this way, I'm going to go over here. Now, that's Jackson. Look, he's left his thing there. That's not supposed to be there. And we're going to put this in the bread maker like that. Okay, I'm going to switch the bread maker on, and I am going to leave it to do its job, and we'll come back and we'll see what happens. Okay. When all of those ingredients were mixed in together and they were cooked in my special bread maker, this was the result. A wonderful, lovely, tasting, delicious smelling loaf of bread. Now, what I find strange is that all of the ingredients started off as just kind of like a runny, kind of gloopy mixture, and it was quite flat, and it's risen up to create this solid structure, this solid loaf of bread. And I wonder if any of you know why the bread rose. What was it inside of the bread that made it rise up? Do any of you know? If you do, you could pop your hand up and you could tell your teacher which one of the ingredients it was that caused our bread mixture, our dough, to rise. Okay, now I'm going to show you a little experiment that demonstrates exactly how the dough mixture rises. It's actually this ingredient that made the bread rise. It's this magic ingredient called yeast. And yeast is actually alive. It's tiny little microorganisms. And it's these, don't know if you can see that there. They're really quite small, really tiny. And it's the yeast inside the mixture that made the mixture rise. And I'm going to do a little experiment now that shows this. So, what we've got here, so we've got about 500 mils. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see a bit better. We've got about 500 mils of warm water here, and it's really important that it is warm. And in here, I am going to put, I've got another spoon in here, there was 2 tablespoons of sugar into the warm water, and I'm going to mix that in so that it dissolves. Still nice and warm. Now, the yeast, because the yeast is a living thing, like all living things, it likes to eat. Or what it likes to eat is sugar. And the sugar gives the yeast energy. It likes to eat it up. So I'm now going to put in just 1 tablespoon of yeast into the sugary water, and I'm going to mix it all in so that it is all mixed together. Starts to make quite a yucky mixture. This is an experiment that you could probably try at home actually, because there's nothing dangerous about this one. There's nothing hot, there's no matches, nothing like that. This is a really easy thing to try at home. So it should be mixed up in there now. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to pour this mixture into the bottle. I'm going to need to be really careful. Should have brought home a funnel. Taking my time. Doesn't smell very nice, boys and girls. I like the candle I had before, that was lovely. This doesn't smell pleasant. Nearly there. Pour in the mixture into there we go. Whoa, it's a bit gloopy. Pour in the mixture into the bottle. It still feels nice and warm. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to put a balloon over the top of the mixture. Okay, now because I know that the yeast really likes to be warm, and that the warmer it is, the more active it becomes and the more sugar it's going to eat, the busier it's going to be, I'm going to put it into some warm water just to kind of warm it up a little bit. So if you come over to the sink with me now, I'm going to just surround it with warm water. It's like got a cosy coat on it now. So it's going to be nice and warm inside of there. Now is the time where you could be making a prediction about what you think is going to happen. What do you think is going to happen as a result of this experiment? But I'm going to have to leave this for a while. I'm going to go away and I'm going to leave it for about an hour, and then I'm going to come back and see what the yeast has been up to. So join me in an hour to see what happens. See you soon, guys. So boys and girls, look what has happened to my balloon. It has blown up. It is full of carbon dioxide. And that is because the yeast in here has been eating the sugar and it has converted it into carbon dioxide, and that's all the bubbles that you can see. That's the carbon dioxide, and it's risen up and it's inflated the balloon. And it's the same thing that happened to the bread. That was why the bread rose. It was the yeast eating the sugar and releasing the carbon dioxide. It made the bread rise just the same way as it made the balloon rise. I absolutely loved doing that experiment this week. I think it was one of my favourites, and I like it even better that you guys could have a shot at that one at home, because most of them I'm saying no, you can't try this at home, but that one you definitely can, and you get a really good result. Now it's time for song time now. Still not allowed to sing, but still really important that we listen and we enjoy music together. Now the song I have chosen for this week, it is almost a law that this song is sung in school during harvest time. It's sung in schools all over the country at this time of year. And it's called Cauliflowers Are Fluffy. I love it, and I hope you do too. I will see you all next week. Don't forget to bring in something for the harvest table outside Mrs. Clark's office, because every little helps. See you next week. Bye.
Cauliflower's fluffy and cabbage is green. Strawberries sweeter than any I've seen. Beetroot's purple and onions white. All grow steadily day and night. The apples are ripe and the plums are red. The broad beans are sleeping in the blankety bed. Blackberries are juicy